August. And of course, when it gets August, we know how time really flies. Soon we'll be talking about Christmas. I'm glad that you're joining us today because we have a very hot, packed show for you today, looking at a raft of issues as far as politics is concerned. We'll be looking at what is happening at the National Assembly. Remember, the conflict of interest bill is of interest. There has been a spat between now the Senate and the National Assembly, where the Senate, it is believed by the National Assembly, they really watered down what they had prepared as far as the conflict of interest bill is concerned. And in light of trying to stamp the flow of corruption in this country, they feel that the Senate has done that particular bill injustice. We shall be looking at that as well with the panelists today. And of course, the political intrigues continue apace. It continues apace here in the country with the latest development as far as we know with the Ruto tour. Are you kind of feeling that we are almost, or we are there again on the campaign mode when we see the president down on the ground, on the town hall meetings, and of course with his motorcade, and talking about his administration and what he's trying to do? It feels again that he's really trying to earn the interest or win back the love that he had from the people that he has lost so far. Well, the Gen Zs, they say, nane nane, it is just a few days from here. They'll be back on the streets and nane nane will be it. That will be on August. We'll be looking at that and a raft of other issues. But for now, let's see how the weather will be. As they always say, whether it be hot, whether it be cold, whether it be, of course, fine or not, we will weather the weather, whether we like it or not. Let's see how we will weather today. All right, Radio Not, here we come with the dailies. We don't have the extra, but we have the Standard, the Daily Nation, the Star, the People Daily, the Business Daily, Taifa Leo, and the rest. Let me try and just make sure I also disable this so that we don't get messed up as we have had. And this is the Standard today, tight corner. This is what is the splash today. Confidence vote. Let me try and zoom in. The Deputy President's fate hangs in the balance after a night meeting at the house of a senior government member discussed his impeachment on grounds of insubordination and pushing for tax rebellion. Should wake up my tongue this morning. This story is well fleshed out on page 4. All right, we have Mwangi Kiunjuri and another legislator that you want to read about inside the publication today who are moving this particular publication or moving this particular motion of impeachment, or will be moving that motion of impeachment. Not really Mwangi Kiunjuri because he's not a member of parliament, but we have James Gachagua. The impeachment threat has been making grounds in our MPs circle for long, and it is now high time it is actualized as opposed to being used to blackmail Gachagua. And you can read all about this inside the publication today on page 4, tight corner. And it's all about the Deputy President and his recent, of course, pronouncements that has been agitating many. You can follow that inside the publication today. William Ruto's show. President goes all out to woo Kenyans. The president has started a series of town halls where he engages Kenyans. He picks questions and moderates the sessions too. The story is on page 2 of the publication today. We have him saying here, I welcome you to this town hall. If you have a moment, please ask me whatever question you have in this space, because I'm here to answer those questions. And you can follow the story inside the publication on page 2. On the sidebar, after the CS's Ruto acts to land on PSs. All right, so it seems the other shoe is waiting to be dropped, and this will be on the PSs as well. So there could be some fear and trepidation regarding the fate of the PSs. A directive that principals secretaries will be fired if Auditor General establishes audit questions is pushing some of them to consider quitting the public sector. You can follow the story on page 6 of the Standard today. Bidenomics, will it thrive? John Badi has been one of the fiercest critics of the Ruto government's handling of the economy. The shoe is on the other foot. Will he introduce policies that will stem the tide? That's the story, and that's the abiding question. You can follow the story on page 8 of the Standard today. Also inside, get all the wiser as far as financial standard is concerned. Will Wandai dismantle cartels he blames for higher power costs? Now also, he's got the room to swing his cut as he should, right? Will he also make any discernible difference? We'll be watching. And this is what the Standard is holding for you today. Way to a man's heart has never been spaghetti. You can read all about it on page 3 of the Standard today. While Latinos could swing US election and pipeline to Kampala in the works. That is on business pages of the Standard today. Rough ride for Malkia at the Olympics. They got, of course, quashed there by the Brazilians' Thunder. And you can follow the story on page 8 or page 48 of the Standard today. Let me try and go back to this Daily Nation. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Revealed 54 billion shillings Ruto budget west. That is a splash. Economy, collapse of finance bills, scattered plans to raise additional 344 billion shillings in new taxes. Extravagance. An analysis of government expenditure reveals at least 54 billion shillings wasteful spending, explaining President William Ruto's directive to state agencies to slash huge allocations to hospitality, travel, confidential kitties, and overlapping roles. You have a story on page 4 and 5, and also a tabulation of the wasteful expenditure vote in financial year 2023-2024. Hospitality, you're given that amount there. Fuel and lubricants, you're given that amount there. Service or servicing vehicles, also the amount is there as well. Domestic and foreign travel, you have the amount given there. Other operating expenses as well, they're all tabulated here on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Let's see what we have on the sidebar. 2 times lucky for terror attacks survivor. It's all about terrorism and Peter Maura narrowly escaping death in the 1998 bomb blast in Nairobi at the September 11, or 2001 US attack, he was in the vicinity of the places where the two raids took place a few meters before they happened. And that story is on page 3, right? Just escaping by the skin of his teeth, he should be grateful to God that he has been spared of those calamities as well. You can follow the story on page 3 of the Daily Nation today. Franklin Ondwari went missing on July the 17th during the anti-government protest in Nairobi County, only to be found dead in a toilet. That is a story that you want to follow on page 2 of the Daily Nation today. Protesters found dead, other missing, and of course also we have a news item for you regarding more bodies that have been found in City Mortuary. KRA allowed D candidates into floor job interviews. That is another story you can follow inside the Daily Nation today. The Kenya Revenue Authority interviewed academic failures for revenue service assistant positions it filled last year in what has exposed more weakness in the exercise that has since been quashed by the High Court for being unconstitutional. On the back page of the Daily Nation is where it is tucked away. Appeal Task Force CS nominees amid public objections, and State at last submits Raila's bid for Africa Union Commission top seat. That story on page 12 of the Daily Nation today. The Star is here. Ruto to slash PS slots and appoint Raila allies is a splash, and the 40 President expected to announce changes after MPs approve cabinet. Head of state wants a lean, efficient government as demanded by protesters. And you have a story on page 6 of the Daily today. This is a Star. And these are the missing faces. We have Boniface Ogutu, we have Clinton Oko, Daniel Kabusho, Lydia Oroko, we have Emmanuel Kamau Mukuria, we have Purity Njeru Gitau, we have John Joroge Thangwa, and Teresa Murundi. Pain, anxiety for families with missing loved ones, a missing son or a daughter or a mother or a father, amid the constant news of bodies being discovered in the morgues or decomposing in pits, is a distressing experience most will never wish on their worst enemies. While countless families are in... Let me try and zoom in so that we can read clearly as well. It says, while countless families are in exhausting searches for loved ones, some of the disappeared are returning home or being found so traumatized that they refuse to discuss the ordeal. That is a story to want to follow inside the Star today. And also on New Era, how Ruto-Raila pact will weaken accountability. Hunger levels in Kenya stubbornly high. This is according to a UN report. And the shortage of day-old chicks hits poultry farmers hard. That's another story inside the Star today. People Daily is up next. Raila rips big from Gen Z sacrifices. Opportunism after taking the bullet for Ruto amidst protest by youths in which some paid with their blood. State formally tumbles Azimio leaders bid for AU top position. And you can follow the story on page 4. And these are the MPs who will vet the Ruto cabinets. We have Moses Wetangula, Gladys Bose, we have Owen Baya, we have Junet Mohammed, we have Robert Mbui, Mishimboko, Kimani Ichung'wah, and Mary Emase. That story, you can follow it inside the People Daily as well. Some of his faces were also in the committee that was probing Mythical Linturi as well. And you remember the saga that happened there. Samba Girls beat Kenya's Malkia Strikers. Brazilians ran over volleyball queens. This is on page 32 of the People Daily today. On top here, Elephant Man walks to Addis. Kenyan conservation champion says his safari aimed to raise public awareness on poaching, habitat loss, and human-wildlife conflict. Azimio ni mahututi. That is what we have inside Taifa Leo this morning. Siku chache baada ya Karua kujiondoa, chama cha PNU pia chaamua kuungana na muungano wa kuagana na muungano wa upinzani. You can follow the story inside the publication today, and some of the sentiments also splashed here on the front page of Taifa Leo. Hii ni baada ya ODM kukiri kuwa inashirikiana na serikali ya Rais Ruto kwa kuruhusu viongozi wake wanne kuteuliwa katika baraza la mawaziri. Muungano huo umebaki na vyama vinne vikuu: Wiper, Jubilee, DAP Kenya na Chungwa. Vitatu vinatishia ODM. Je, ndoa yao itadumu? And that's the abiding question. You have a story on page 2 of the publication today. And Manchester United kuhama uga wa Old Trafford. You can follow the story on page 20 of the publication today. Mwili wa kijana aliyetoweka wapatikana, and it's been found in the toilet there. Ombi la Raila lawasilishwa rasmi AUC. That story on page 3 of Taifa Leo this morning. Let's buckle down to some business. Insurance hit as protests add to losses from recent floods, political and climate-related risks to drive up claims. Raging anti-government demos fueling property losses. And it says here, just to read a snippet of it, that insurers are facing a fresh surge in claims as businesses and property owners assess loss and damage from vandalism and looting that accompanied anti-government protest, coming on the heels of flooding that left underwriters with a bill of at least 3.15 billion shillings. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Business Daily today. Moody's downgrades KCB Equity Cooperative Bank rating on debt risks. Moody's rating has downgraded the rating of KCB Bank Kenya, Equity Bank Kenya, and Cooperative Bank of Kenya, citing weakened credit profile of the government. The rating agency said in a statement that it has downgraded the long-term deposit ratings of the three banks to CAA1 rating from B3 with a negative outlook given their high sovereign exposure, mainly in the form of government debt securities. The two ratings indicate obligations that are speculative and are high credit default risk. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Business Daily. On the sidebar, we have the ticker and lawmakers' shrine. Let me try and zoom in. We read together. It says lawmakers shine spotlight on 400 billion shilling state service fees. State agencies which collect about 400 billion shillings in fees on government services annually face increased scrutiny in proposed changes by lawmakers targeted at improving accountability in the expenditure of public funds. Also, CAK allows takeover of titanium miner. That is another story. The Competition Authority of Kenya has approved the takeover of Kwale miner-based Titanium's Australian parent by American Mineral Resources Farm Energy Fuels, paving the way for the deal to be concluded next month. And Nairobi Security Exchange shades 174 billion shillings in 2 months as foreigners flee. The Nairobi Security Exchange has shared that amount in the past 9 weeks amid anti-government protest, ratings downgrade that has seen foreign investors turn net sellers. That is a blowback now of the protests. This is the Business Daily. Let's cross over to Uganda. This way, that way. That is what is a splash here on the front page of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Reading from a different script, a total of 36 members of the Forum from Democratic Change Party were yesterday charged by Nakawa Chief Magistrates Court and remanded just days after MP Paul Mugisha, the director of Liaison and Protocol at the External Security Organization, has said the group was not under arrest. That story, you can follow it on page 4 of the Daily Monitor, This Way, That Way. And whose skull? Right, a very gory picture here, I should say. And we can see a detective removing some of the 17 human skulls that were recovered in a tiny house said to belong to Tabula Luja Bosa in Kabanga village, Mpigi district yesterday. Bosa is reported to have been staying in the house before he went into hiding in late February. That story, you could follow it inside on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Looking on the teaser on top there, Anita Mukiza forgiveness letters open old wounds. That is another story that you want to follow inside the publication today. We cross over to Tanzania, pick up the Citizen. Costly settlements expose Tanzania's legal loopholes is a splash on the front page of the Citizen this morning. The government's multi-billion shilling settlement with Indiana Resources over a nickel investment expropriation dispute has triggered calls for accountability and a thorough review of contracts and legal processes. $90 million, that is Tanzania has agreed to pay Indiana Resources and its associated entities $90 million to settle an investment dispute dating back to 2018. You can follow the story inside the publication today. They're on page 2. And also 2 girls journey back to school after pregnancy. Oh, that is inside the Citizen as well. Mwarimutse, good morning, Rwanda. Tech innovation poised to unlock Africa's agricultural potential. That is the New Times. And the Splash, the science-based innovations and technologies are vital to boost productivity. That is on page 3 of the New Times this morning. And global experts vow to stand against genocide deniers. Let's put that is a French word. There is genocide deniers, and you can read the story there inside the publication today. And we can see Freddie Mutanguha, the Aegis Trust CEO and Director of Kigali Genocide Memorial, delivering remarks here during the International Council of Museums, International Committee for Memorial and Human Rights Museums meeting and conference in Kigali. The 2-day meeting brought together 400 participants who vowed to stand against genocide deniers. And that story is inside the publication today. Why are street vendors leaving markets set up for them? That's another probing question. Government hands over key veterinary services to private operators. That is also inside the publication. The East African this week is all about Samia's political chess game ahead of the electioneering season. As Tana president is enforcing loyalty and efficiency among state officials as seen in the latest reshuffles. You can follow the story on page 4 of the publication today. Fresh sanctions for armed groups in North Kivu. US singles out Congo River Alliance for fueling conflict on page 12 of the publication today. Ethiopia not welcome here, says Asmara. Authorities accuse airline of predatory practices. And that is on page 6 of the publication this week, I should say. This is East African. Let's see what we have on The Economist. Can she win? That's the probing question on the front page of The Economist. Can Kamala Harris win? And this is a summer reading from 43 magazine. You can follow the publication for those interesting, compelling stories. And also the Time magazine. No splash at all, but the picture is telling. Walking away is Biden, who handed over the baton to Kamala Harris. And walking in, of course, is Kamala Harris. Will she win? That's a probing question. And of course, we saw the huge record campaign financing that was raised just in a span of 2 weeks. Right, that is a story that you want to follow inside the Time magazine as well. And the week, the handoff. Has Harris got what it takes to beat Trump? That is what the week is asking. This is the UK publication. And you can see this is Biden handing over the baton to Kamala Harris. And also, the week, this is a US publication. Biden leaves the race. Is Harris a winning candidate? That is the question that is hanging on the rafters of many Americans right now. That is hanging on the rafters of their minds. Right? This is the week as well. The UK publication, the UK and the US publication. You can grab a copy that really floats your boat. Those are the dailies today. And of course, we wind up with the Standard. If you've not seen the Standard, this is what is on the front page of the Standard. The tight corner is what is a splash this morning. Right, we have a lot lined up for you today. Of course, aside from the dailies as well, we have our guest inside the studio this morning. And I'm joined this morning by Okongo Mogene, who's a senator of Nyamira. We'll be joined momentarily by Dan Mazo, Senator of Makueni, also Tabitha Mutidra as well. She'll be joining us this morning. But already in studio is Okongo Mogene. I just want to extend my hearty welcome to him this morning for joining us. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Devar.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Me, I'm number 1 today.
Today?
Yes.
So you beat everyone
to a punch.
Not even
today, always.
No, not always. Not always, not as always.
Yeah.
All right, but good to see you though.
Nice to see you too.
Yes, how's Nyamira?
Nyamira is fine, a bit wet, but it's fine, quiet. Waiting to see what will happen this week.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of demands there. I think Governor Nyaribo is on the spot. The Gen Z, they're calling themselves the Nyamira Gen Z. They want a lot of raft of issues corrected in Nyamira.
Yeah,
One is the resignation of a CEC there, of youth, gender, youth and sports.
Yeah, they have, I think I've also seen the memorandum. I think the Gen Zs want somebody who holds that docket of youth to be somebody they can relate with. So the demand they're putting on the table is that they want Governor Nyaribo to pick another nominee for that position who can be within the bracket of the youth.
Yes.
They feel that the lady who is currently holding that portfolio, I think she's called Dr. Nyamongo, doesn't fit their age bracket as such. They are not able to relate.
Is she Jacqueline Nyamongo?
Nyamongo,
yes.
Nyamongo, doctor. She's a well-learned person, well-educated, former lecturer, I think. And you know what we are seeing is the accountability that we saw at the national level is now being devolved down to the counties. The same, I think, issues that we had by the Gen Z at the national level is now being cascaded down to the counties, where the Gen Zs are seeking more transparency, they are seeking better governance, they want to see results from the resources that go to the counties. So I think we are really moving to a new Kenya, where if you're holding public office, you must be extremely accountable, how you exercise power and how you utilize public resources, which is a good thing. The only urge we make to our Gen Zs is that if they borrow from the experiences we saw under Martin Luther King, they can achieve a lot if they don't allow violence to creep in. But again, what we have seen is both at the national and county level, goons try to infiltrate these demonstrations. You find youths, very good intentions, peaceful, willing to put their issues on the table, but then they get infiltrated. I think we need an inquiry to determine whether it is our national security agencies that hire people to come and infiltrate these demonstrations so that they acquire that tag of being violent. We don't know whether it's the people who are in office themselves. You saw the Bali Nairobi pictures that were online of somebody in a Range Rover who was said to be a politician, who was dishing out money, to some team of border borders that were apparently coming in to counter the peaceful demonstration. So it's also posing a challenge to us as a country to see whether we actually need to demand for an inquiry. We do an inquiry to determine who really infiltrates these demonstrations. Is it thugs that come in with the aim of robbing people, they cash in on the situation, or do security agencies get used by some people in power and then they hire people to come and infiltrate these demonstrations?
So what's your assessment?
Create that tag of violence. 3, do some politicians hire goons to come in and infiltrate the demonstrations to give them that tag of violence? We shouldn't close this chapter without delving deeper into what happens, what makes these peaceful demonstrations to suddenly turn to be violent. Because it's a constitutional right, really enshrined in Article 37. And it has really pushed the accountability card, unprecedented. Never happened in the history of this country that a president can be pushed by the Gen Z generation to fire his entire cabinet. I was also reading yesterday, I don't know how true that is, that they have also written close to 500 memos to Parliament, raising issues on the integrity, credibility, of some of the nominees for the cabinet position. So we should applaud them. I think they have done a very good thing. They are now the talk of town.
Thank you.
Out there in many countries.
Right. And this will be also a good handy opportunity for the legislators to redeem themselves in light of what has gone before, that you are just a rubber stamp or an appendage of the executive, right? Just pandering to the whims of the executive at the end of the day. So this will be a wonderful time to redeem your faces and, of course, reconnect with your constituents as well. Or if
no. Don't say us. You know.
No.
The vetting will be undertaken by the National Assembly.
I know you're the Senate. I know you're the Senate.
So you should be saying
you are under the umbrella of Parliament.
You should be saying that this is a good opportunity for National Assembly to redeem themselves. Remember, it is National Assembly that passed the finance bill.
I agree with you. I agree.
Okay?
I agree with you.
Remember, it's the National Assembly that had a debacle in the last vetting of cabinet secretaries.
That I agree. But still, in the eyes of the public, you're one and the same. Yeah? But
we shouldn't. I think there should be that distinction, Deval. There is a difference between National Assembly and Senate. Don't lump us together.
But you're still Parliament, right? Let's talk to Senator Dan Mazo. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I can see the latest development from your party leader, right? He's calling on your troops not to really associate with the legislators that have been appointed as nominees to the CSS position.
Yes.
What is happening? So we have PNU also who are moving out.
Well, you know... Well,
can I fix your mic before we go on? Right, yeah, because I can hear it ruffling a bit, so yeah. Once we fix it, then we'll talk to you. But right now, let's just put the stories to, of course, into perspective right now, where we understand that there are plans to impeach the deputy presidents, that is the president, Rigathi Gachagua, deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, and are already in the offing, with sources privy to the plan confirming that the latest meeting was held last week. And according to the petition sent by KTN News, the DP is accused of undermining the president by opposing some of the decisions made by the executive and holding him hostage. And our senior political affairs reporter Chris Thairo explains signatures are already being collected, and the plan is to table the motions the motion in Parliament soon after the voting and the approval of the nominees for the position of cabinet secretaries. And we'll give you that story much later in the course of the program today, just to put it into perspective. But let's see also how the president has been faring on the ground in the coast there, where he concluded a tour of the coastal region. And apart from launching several development projects, he issued a stern warning to a group of politicians he accused of being behind the destruction and mayhem. KTN's Hamza Yusuf has more.
Earlier on Monday, the head of state visited Tana River on his final day of his 5-day tour. At Ngao School, the president addressed Tana River residents and promised changes in a region that has lagged behind for a while.
Maendeleo haitakuja ikiwa Kone ina vita. Na maendeleo haitakuja Kenya ikiwa Kenya inayumba.
Mimi tunawaomba wakati rais anaunganisha Kenya, hii Kone isiachwe nyuma.
We are looking for a win-win formula where all Kenyans from all regions, from all communities, from all sections become winners.
First, the plan to revive the Gelana Kulalo project.
Ile awamu ya 3, phase 3, nitaweka pesa yake ndio tuhakikishe ya kwamba ile irrigation potential ya Tana River na hapa Bura tuweze kufikia, hawa vijana wapate kazi, sisi tusalishe chakula na tuhakikisha kwamba Kenya iko na food security na Tana River tuibadilishe sifa yake.
Good news to the victims of flood caused by El Nino rains, as they will benefit from government-sponsored new housing project.
Mimi nataka nitangaze nikiwa Tana River, tumewapatia milioni 450 ili kuwajengea manyumba upya wale familia 6,000 ambayo familia zao ama makao yao iliharibika siku ya mafuriko.
At the Garseni area, the president launched an electricity project at Hashaka School, a project which is being implemented by the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation. The president urged leaders to inform the government about areas that are not yet connected. The recent appointment of new cabinet and some individuals allegedly causing chaos through Gen Z youth did not go unmentioned.
Hatuwezi kuruhusu taifa letu lifanyiwe karata ya pata potea. Watu wachukue, wafanye maandamano, walete maafa, walete uharibifu wa mali, wachome manyumba ya serikali, wachome mambo ya serikali kwa sababu ya mambo ya kibinafsi.
Kumbe Gen Z ilikuwa si Gen Z, ni Kalonzo na Eugene Wamalwa na Uhuru Kenyatta. Hawa ndio walikuwa Gen Z wakora, si ndio? Sisi rais walikuwa wanataka kupanga kwamba Wakenya hawakupendi. Wakenya wanakupenda na wanakunga mkono, si namna hiyo?
In Bangale area, the president launched the Biashara Market, a water project, and an ID issuance office.
Tutafanya bidii ili huduma ya serikali ifike kone, iwafikie, ndio hata na nyinyi mujihisi ya kwamba muko sambamba na Wakenya wenzenu.
For the locals who say it is the first time a Kenyan sitting president has visited Bangale, for them, it's not just about the project.
Jambo mzuri sana kwa sababu hatukuwahi kuona wale marais ambao wamepita kufika Bangale. Rais William Ruto ndio ya kwanza.
Mara ya kwanza sisi kuona president amefika kwetu, na tuko na furaha kubwa na tunamkaribisha na tuko kwa serikali na tutamjenga pamoja na mjumbe wetu na wakubwa wetu wote.
A launching of an ESP market. This is a market that is one of the biggest manifesto to the Kenya Kwanza administration, and also it's a very important issue within Bangal town. It's a market that will help the mamambogas, those who sell miraa, those who do different kind of milk vendors and what have you.
Additionally, the government stated that the main Garissa-Nairobi road damaged by recent El Nino rains will be prioritized. Hamza Yusuf, KTN News, Bangale, Tana River.
Weeks of protest against President William Ruto's government, the head of state is seemingly adopting new strategies in his bid to turn the tide in his favor. As Jeff Kirui reports, the president has resorted to town hall, as you saw it, engagements as he seeks to revive his dealings with the people amidst concerns that his administration is drastically losing its popularity.
On the 25th of June, the invasion of Parliament of Kenya and the subsequent protests calling for the resignation of President William Ruto has painted the Kenya Kwanza arguably as the most unpopular regime. Less than 3 years in office, President William Ruto is facing an onslaught from Kenyans over unpopular policies. The straw that broke the camel's back being the Finance Bill 2024 that caused sporadic eruption of opposition and protest. The president still holds that though the bill was withdrawn, it was defeated by propaganda that boiled down to government's poor messaging, allowing misinformation and disinformation.
The biggest challenge that I regret is that we didn't communicate better. Maybe we failed in explaining to Kenyans what the finance bill was all about. We didn't explain ourselves better. Maybe my communication team failed. Maybe I'm sure my communication team failed. Our communication architecture did not deliver, did not get the message out to the people of Kenya.
The president has now restructured his mode of engaging the masses, now opting to town hall meetings, with the inaugural session happening in Mombasa during his tour of the coastal region. A strategy seemingly geared towards re-strategizing and reconfiguring his waning political fortune amidst the onslaught from the populous demography of youth in Kenya.
Welcome to this town hall, one among many that I will be holding to have a direct engagement with the people of Kenya on matters that are important to us as a nation.
In what is also appearing to be efforts to win back regional support, the president has gone back to regional tours, guised as development tours, visits that he unveils development projects, as political pundits argue it's a strategy to woo support back to his side. His new cabinet also an indication of his intentions to conquer new political grounds. The president has gone for Raila Odinga's support base by looping in his close allies, with the appointment of Hassan Joho in the coast, John Badi and Opiyo Wandayi in Nyanza region, and reinforcing the western region with the appointment of Kakamega's first governor Wycliffe Oparanya.
Kwa sababu tumekubaliana ya kwamba tutembee pamoja. Sisi ni nchi ya demokrasia. Na katika demokrasia ile, demokrasia pia iko na nafasi ya kuweka national interest above partisan political party and regional politics. Nitarudi hapa tena.
Jeff Kirui, KTN News.
Tumeweka program ya industrialization.
The president raided the opposition camp in an attempt to calm the recent unrest in the country and strike a balance on politics, service delivery, and governance. The opposition is seen to have been crippled without an immediate alternative. Our reporter, Finik Olwach, interrogates.
After President William Ruto invaded the opposition, picking prominent names in parliament and leadership positions within the ODM party, the opposition seems to be disintegrating fast. The Azimio coalition, which until recently was tasked with keeping the government in check, appears to be lacking a unified voice with visible divisions.
For the love of this nation, we will stand. Hata William Ruto anajua Kalonzo atakuwa mpinzani wake. Hiyo anajua wazi.
If you want to take some of our experts and get into your government, you release them to join your government.
Safari ya siasa ya upinzani tutakuwa nayo. Sisi sasa mwenye atakuwa akituongoza kwa hiyo safari itakuwa Kalonzo Musyoka.
Divisions that are also evident within the ODM party.
Ruto is a passing cloud. I am saying that without a fear of contradiction. I'm urging everybody that joining Ruto is a disaster, is an abomination. It cannot work.
I am in total disagreement with James Agriole. He's my senior, he's my friend, but where he's wrong, I will tell him you are wrong. You cannot tell us that we cannot dialogue, that we cannot talk with Ruto, we cannot talk as Kenyans. What is the alternative?
Another clear indication that the opposition has been weakened and rendered ineffective. The NARC Kenya party, one of the notable parties in Azimio, wrote to the coalition on Sunday seeking to exit the opposition's coalition. This crisis in Azimio coalition leaves a significant opposition gap, a gap that might be filled by Gen Z youths who have shown desire for improved leadership and government performance.
The legal system is down. The electoral system is down. The economic system is down because our economy has already tanked. Our economy has sinked.
The challenge these youths are expected to face is lack of leadership. However, they pride themselves on not having a recognizable leader, which they claim is their strength. They pride themselves on courage, bravery, cooperation, and unity, pillars they claim are essential for successfully critiquing the government.
We know everything about the Constitution, so for you to recycle the CSs is a big no. We told you don't want them, and you still brought them back. So we are telling you, if you are unable to do your job, please step down. We will do it for you.
Will the burden of opposition and keeping the government in check remain a prerogative of the new generation youth, while Kenya continues to witness divisions and disintegration of the opposition coalition? As this confusion continues to cripple the opposition, the process of filling the minority leader position in parliament is expected to begin officially. This follows the appointment of Opiyo Wandayi to the energy portfolio. Some of the names eyeing the minority leadership position in parliament include Suna East MP, Junet Mohamed, Suba North MP, Millie Odhiambo, Rarieda MP, Otiende Amolo, Kitutu Chache South MP, Anthony Kibagendi, Seme MP, James Nyikal, Makadara MP, Georgia Ladwa, and Nyando MP, Jared Okello. Suna East MP Junet Mohammed, a close ally of ODM leader Raila Odinga, is said to have a high chance of securing this position, considering he is serving his third term as Suna East MP under ODM. Junet also hails from Migori County, which is said to have missed out on the recent government appointments. Finik Oluoch, KTN News.
Now, the youth have begun counting down to another round of anti-protests. Organizers appear to be planning for a grand march into the Nairobi's central business district and are considering transporting protesters from upcountry and hosting them in Nairobi. The August 8th march has been dubbed Nane Nane, drawing inspiration from the monumental Saba Saba protest of the 1990s. Here's our reporter Dennis Omondi with more details.
As President William Ruto breaks the tent he had pitched at the coast, Nairobi is beckoning with more to worry about, including a looming fresh round of protests against his government.
I'm proud to be a Kenyan. I'm proud to be a Kenyan.
The protests, which have lasted 7 weeks, have become a major pain point that refuses to heal despite the concessions made by President Ruto since July 18th, when protesters first lined up on the streets to demand better and accountable governance before embracing calls for the president to throw in the towel and resign with the entire Kenya Kwanza administration.
Wengine wakapiga no, hiyo kitu yote ikapotea. Sasa imerudi tena niende nifanye karabati ingine. Unaona vile watu wananitesa sana, ya watu wanasumbua. Na ni fitina tupu. Oh, sijui umewekwa nini, sijui ya kansa, sijui imewekwa nini ya mashamba, na ni yote ni porojo na uongo.
Dubbed Nane Nane, a Swahili reference signifying the August 8th date for the march, the protest intends to be bigger and its schedule is already in motion. According to the plan, awareness creation and mobilization happened between July 24th and July 27th across popular social media platforms. Between Sunday, July 28th and Wednesday, July 31st, interested protesters are expected to plan their transport, including securing Nairobi-bound buses or considering carpooling and group traveling. From 1st until 4th of August, Nairobi residents will be expected to open their doors widely for their relatives and friends from across the 47 counties. Unlucky travelers will have to show up at hotels to book accommodation or put up temporary shelters at camps in yet to be designated areas. Ultimately, starting 5th August, the protest rights will have reached climax with activities including briefings from coordinators and volunteers before the eventual march to the Nairobi CBD. A deal between President Ruto and opposition chief Raila Odinga may have dipped their popularity among the younger demography, who have now fashioned themselves as the new face of opposition.
But then you say that if you want to take some of our experts and get into your government, you release them to join your government and work in accordance with the ethics of our party, ODM and Azimio.
Can we agree on those things and move the country forward on the things that are not in contention between the sides? And that is how we agreed with ODM to work on the broad-based government that captures some of the items that we all agree on.
The protesters insist that their mass action will be peaceful as concerns about police brutality linger on. At least 42 people have died since the protests began on June 18th, according to data from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Past protests have been marked by arbitrary arrest of perceived dissidents, deaths and injuries from gunshots, looting and destruction of property.
As citizens of this great nation, we all have a duty to balance our rights and responsibilities at all times so that the legitimate exercise of our rights and freedoms does not undermine our broader aspirations to remain a civilized, democratic, and peaceful country.
On July 18th, Occupy Uhuru Park protests were aborted after Nairobi Regional Police Commander Adamson Bungei ordered a ban that was later vacated by the High Court. A planned occupation of JKIA also failed to materialize, while a Thursday, June 25th march in memory of Kenyans lost in the protests ended in the arrest of participants, including activist Boniface Mwangi. Dennis Omondi, KTN News.
Well, in other developments, the government has presented the required documentation for the Kenya's nominee for the chairmanship of the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa. The bid was presented by Foreign Affairs PS Korir Sieng'oei alongside Raila's close ally Makau Mutua and Kenya's ambassador to Addis Ababa, George Orina. The Azimio leader, Raila Odinga, has exuded confidence that he will win the race scheduled for February 2025. That is, of course, next year. Innocent Ogaro has more.
In a bid to race against time for the Africa Union Commission chairmanship contest early next year, Kenya has now officially submitted ODM leader Raila Odinga's bid for the seat. Confirming on X, the Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Korir Sieng'oei said the government has presented the required documentation of Kenya's nominee for the chairmanship to the Dean of Eastern Region. It is now vividly clear on the government's commitment to Raila's candidature after weeks of speculations fueled by anti-government protests. This also follows a move by President Ruto to nominate some of Raila's trusted allies into the cabinet in what was seen as a political pact between the two. The AU Commission has set 6th of August as the deadline for the submission of required documentation of the candidates seeking to succeed Musa Faki. The government missed its June 30th deadline, claiming delays were due to the protests being witnessed in the country by Gen Zs. President William Ruto's regime has pledged to do what it takes to ensure Raila secures the highly coveted seat that will place him to the stature of head of state. In a statement issued by the Office of the Legal Counsel in May, the AUC said each candidate for the position of chairperson will be required to submit a curriculum vitae in 6 languages, including English, Arabic, French, Portuguese, Spanish, and Kiswahili. Innocent Ogaro, KTN News.
On security matters now, where Gilbert Masengeli officially assumed office as Deputy Inspector General, Administration Police Service, and is also serving as the Acting Inspector General of Police following the nomination of Douglas Kanja as the Inspector General of Police. Our reporter Vera Muram attended the handover ceremony that took place at the headquarters, that is Jogoo House in Nairobi.
Gilbert Masengeli officially assumed office on Monday, 29th of July 2024, after James Kamau, who was serving in an acting capacity, handed the office to him. In a ceremony punctuated with pomp, color, and honor, the police service received the next Deputy Inspector General, Administration Police Service. James Kamau has been serving in acting capacity after Nur Gabo was redeployed to the public service. The new DIG will also be serving as the Acting Inspector General of Police as Douglas Kanja, who was nominated for the position of the IG National Police Service, waits for his approval by both houses of parliament or otherwise. Kanja, until last week, was the Acting Inspector General of Police after the unceremonious exit of Japheth Koome.
It's a historical day for the administration police since the inception of the AP. It is our first DIG, grown and brought up in the service, and that's why most of the time you are hearing people referring us to the new DIG as homegrown. He has grown through the ladder from a constable to the level of a DIG.
I want to pledge to work within the rule of law and as per the Constitution. I am ready to guide the officers to ensure the public get the desired services, since security is our priority and safety of each and everyone is our responsibility. The common mwananchi, the Wanchiku, should not only feel safe, but be safe at all costs. We have no otherwise.
The Deputy Inspector General of Administration Police Service is responsible for leading the Administration Police Service and operates under the directions and control of the Inspector General. Vera Mura, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, 7 o'clock on the nose. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be remiss if we don't show you also the editorial cartoons that we do have today. Long jump, and this is all about the Olympics that we have here, despite the fact that we have, of course, the Olympics ongoing. We have our own political intrigues that are very entertaining as well. The long jump of Raila Odinga, and we have it that the Gen Zs are saying Raila's, if you look one of the dailies, Raila's rip, or is ripping big from Gen Z's sacrifices. And this is a long jump, as we can see it right now in the political landscape. What is happening with the crumbling of Azimio as well? What does it portend for the opposition in the country? Of course, we know we don't have officially opposition side of a divide, but by the minority side as it stands. But have they lost their voice? Have they lost their sting? Have they lost their impact? That is what has been captured by our zone inside the Star today. And also, there is this debate about the conflict of interest that has been captured by the Standard today. This is GAMS. As you can see, the rotund belly there, extended bellies, that is a conflict of interest from the Senate and the National Assembly. The pot calling the kettle black. That is also what will be questioning and seeing the debate that has been ongoing, that the Senate has watered down the conflict of interest bill, and the President quite spoke prominently on the conflict of interest bill that will aid in stanching the flow of corruption in the country and lancing the boil of corruption. This is what we have inside the Standard today. There is a debate around the procedural propriety of the PPP that has been awarded to Adani. And this is what Victor has captured today. Bid to occupy Kenyan airports for the next 30 years. There was no public participation. So there's scant information about how this particular procurement was done. And we'll discuss this also on the other side of the break, because also the Senate has been on this particular bid. They need a lot of information regarding how this particular bid was done. There was any, of course, an announcement or advertisement for people to tender, and how it was awarded to Adani. That is raising a lot of questions as well. There's also a very interesting article inside the Business Daily regarding the development on that particular bid. We'll give you that much later in the course of the program. But the questions which are being raised as well by the lawyers who this is their domain. Cynthia Oloch is talking about that. And you can also grab a copy. Legal consideration for proposed JKI public-private partnerships. Also, that is a probing question that she's asking on how this particular deal will